Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Carpo's Corner. And today I'd like to tell you a story about the time that the neighbors called the cops on me for picking blackberries. But first, I'd like to start off by saying this happened not just yesterday, but the reason I'm using that kind of hyperbole is because I wanted to compare it to the misunderstandings we have as people about other people's intentions and how important intentions really are to who we are and to the reasoning behind why we do things or how we treat each other. That intentions really, to me, are like 9/10 of the law of human nature. If you don't mean harm, it's the reason we don't charge people with horrible crimes if they weren't of sane mind to commit those crimes. And of course, that's abused, but that's another story altogether. I'll start off with telling you the story. And this is a little bit almost embarrassing for me as well, because I realized that while I was in the right somewhat, I also made a spectacle. Because me, being Carpo, the guy who feels entitled in my own town, will make a spectacle whenever I'm confronted with authority. I've always been this way. It's something I'm working on, but it's also something that I think that more people need to put it this way. I understand that there are people put in authority positions in certain situations, such as at a concert. I was confronted recently, I mentioned this in a video. The security guard came up to me and said I was moving back and forth too much, and I just went off on her. I was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, I'm at a concert, and I danced and jumped around on one foot, and my wife's like, dude, chill. But I can't help doing that. It's just how I feel. I feel standoffish. I don't like being confronted by other people about what I'm doing. So, brings us to yesterday. My wife and my youngest son went out blackberry picking, and I kind of wished I'd gone with them, but I was tired after work. So, a little while after they left, I was like, I'm just going to go up to the local park here. I'm going to pick some blackberries. I'm going to not only, pick a thing of blackberries, but I'm also going to get rid of those blackberry bushes. Because at the very end of the park, there's a walkway with fences between two, houses. It's a cul-de-sac. So at the very end of the cul-de-sac, there's a little trail, which is maybe 100 feet long, that leads into the local park. And at the end of that trail, if you're walking through the cul-de-sac up the trail, and you look to the left as you walk in, there's sticker bushes, briar bushes, otherwise known as Himalayan blackberries, which a lot of people don't realize are an invasive species and are actively, people get rid of them regularly and spray them, but I wanted to be able to hack them away from at least the walkway where my kids walk to school, because I'm sick of getting my arms caught on them. Every year they dry out and they get these horrible thorns, and it's not that big of a deal, but enough to where I thought, well, I'll cut it and save some people some problems, but at the same time save the giant tree that's in there and get blackberries. So I go in with my cooler with my containers and a 6-foot ladder, which I went back to get after I started hacking. I realized I needed my ladder. I went back and got a 6-foot little aluminum ladder, brought it back, and a machete. Now, mind you, I realize this looks really bad. You're at a park with a machete, but you're a guy with a cooler and a blackberry container, and you're hacking away these bushes. So this lady started walking up with her daughter, and then she turned around and went back. And then 5 minutes later she came back by. It was weird as she got brave enough to go by the guy that was cutting down blackberries. And I was like, part of me felt bad, but part of me was like, come on, I'm obviously not a menace. And she said, just hacking away, huh? And the way she said it was, I could just tell that, she wasn't happy with the fact I was hacking the blackberries. And I said, yeah, they're actually an invasive species, and, a lot of people don't realize, yada, yada, yada. And then she walked off. I continued after that hacking for about another half hour, maybe an hour even. And then I noticed some neighbors congregating down the street. Down at the end of the path there in the cul-de-sac, I saw two guys cross-armed looking at me, and I ignored them. I saw one guy walk over, talk to the other neighbor, and then about maybe an hour into this, I saw this guy Now, the only reason I remember what he said was because I had a recorder going. I was going to do a time lapse of it. So I had my camera, my phone set up, recording the hacking of the Blackberries. And you can hear this guy through the woods yell, "I see you." And I was like, I kind of stopped. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm calling the cops." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Do you not hear me?" Or something like that. And I was like, and then I got off the ladder. I walked through the woods. I was like, "No, I do not hear you because I can't understand what you were saying. Could you please repeat yourself?" I was pretty concise. He's like, "I'm calling in the cops." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I see you burrowing into my yard." And so at this point, I realized here's a paranoid neighbor. We have had homeless problems in that park. It's not a lot, maybe one or two people sleeping. I saw a kid that was sleeping in the woods there. He must have been 18, 19, asked me where to get some water. Kind of felt bad for him, but didn't seem a threat. And I've never found any needles in that park, which is my peeve, because I have a huge issue with the problem with homelessness, with needles, with violence in homeless camps. I get it. But I'm out there picking blackberries. So on the recording, I confronted the guy and I was like, "You're going to call the cops?" And I started screaming. I was like, "I've lived here for almost 20 years. I was like, I live on First Street. I'm your neighbor, and you're going to call the cops on me." And you hear him say, "Well, I didn't know. I didn't know. I wasn't sure." And I said, "Well, did you, bother to come over and talk to me and ask me what I was doing?" And I was like, "This is the problem. Everybody's just, making assumptions and calling the cops." And so I kind of walked off saying, "Yeah, call the cops," being kind of obnoxious. And I felt like an idiot after watching it. I felt stupid. But I was a little flustered. And you all know how you act when you're a little flustered. So I went back to hacking berries. About 5 minutes later, I looked down the path and noticed the two guys were standing there with their arms crossed watching me. And in the video, that's when I get down off the ladder and I throw the machete down and I take a drink of my juice and I walk down there and I talk to the guys. And I didn't listen to what the conversation was because it was way down there. You can't really hear it. It doesn't matter. The point was, by the end of the discussion, we all shook hands and went along our way. And I told the guys, I was like, I understand where you're coming from. They were like super inquisitive, like, "Where do you live?" I was like, "Dude, I live on First Street." I gave them my full address. And I was like, "I've lived here for 18 years. And these guys were probably in their early 30s. So at best, they lived here since, they were 12 when I moved here. I mean, I'm not going to play that credibility game, but there is a certain feeling when you've lived in an area, you feel more confident. It's like my park. It's our park, the neighborhood park. But I feel responsible for it too. And I also realize how the person felt by watching me burrow into his woods that were otherwise protecting his backyard from potential homeless people. I get it from both sides, and after stepping back and spending a day thinking about it, that's why I wanted to make this video, to say, even when we think we're in the right and we're doing the right thing, which is what I told the guys. I was like, I said, they go, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Well, why didn't you call the city?" And I laughed. I was like, "Have you ever called the city for anything? You can call them, several times, and they don't take care of anything." And I was like, I said, maybe it's from during the, COVID they wouldn't clean up the freeways during the pandemic because they said that it was, people were in too close of quarters in the vans. So my wife started a cleanup group. And that's what I was talking to them about. I was like explaining to them how we'd cleaned up the freeways and we cared about the neighborhood. And I just said, it's really bad that we've gotten to the point where we just make assumptions about people. And I was like, that's bad. He's like, "Yeah, it is." And we just kind of stood there for a minute. All three of us were like, in this moment of understanding, they made a bad judgment call, but it was also warranted because they don't want trouble in their backyard and their houses back to the park. So I get it. And so I almost want to go apologize to the neighbor But I feel like I was such a dick to him, he probably wouldn't even take it. Because after I'd done talking to those two guys, I realized the other neighbor was probably in his yard the whole time. And half an hour had passed and the cops still weren't there, so I know he was just talking shit. So I walked back to get my stuff after I talked to the other dudes, and I was packing up my shit, and I was like, I leaned, into the stickers, and I was like, hey, man, if you're still there, no harm, no foul, dude. I don't mean any harm. I was like, it's all good. And he goes, don't talk to me. That's all I heard. And I was like, okay, bro. And he goes, the cops are on their way. And that's when I said, okay, got my shit, and I walked off. It was sad because I was like, this is my neighbor, just a few blocks away. And, I know that it's an empty threat. But the funny thing is, I guess why it probably pissed me off too is because threatening to call the cops is probably the weakest way to handle things. Even if a person gets arrested or, charged with something, the real criminals that are actually causing the problem seem to get away with everything, right? In other words, you'll see like broken motorhomes on the side of Portland and nobody can do anything about it and people just live right wherever they want, right on the Columbia River. But if I park for a minute in a no parking zone, I get a ticket, right? It's a weird time to be alive, and I think that's the point that we discussed a lot, was how sad it is to be in a time where we can't trust each other, how important it is to be able to trust each other. Anyway, that's my story about the Blackberry Cops, and yeah, thanks for listening. There's the Carpo's Corner episode 15 or 16 or whatever, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace out.